And now we are live.
Uhuru, everyone. Uhuru, welcome to the Reparations Study Group. I'm here with my co-host, Jesse Neville, the National Chair of USM. I am Jackson Hollingsworth, the chair here in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm very honored to be here hosting the study of the Reparations Study Group, USM's weekly online study group. And we are studying the Burning Spear newspaper, the news organ of the African People's Socialist Party. The African People's Socialist Party formed and leads the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And the African People's Socialist Party has the goal of the total unification and liberation of Africa and African people, and formed this solidarity movement for us to organize in our own white communities for reparations. And so the theme of the episode is reparations, and we're reading a very important article from the Burning Spear newspaper that goes into depth about the solidarity movement, and we're very much looking forward to that. But first, I want to appreciate everyone tuning in, and also open it up to my co-host, Chair Jesse. Anything you would like to say in our intro here?
Uhuru Jackson, thank you very much. It's great to be here on the Reparations Study Group live from the quarantine. And
Yes.
That's why we are not in the same room together, because we are abiding by the protocols set by the African People's Socialist Party and APDEP's COVID-19 Commission, People's War Commission, that has actually established protocols for the Uhuru movement and for those of us in the solidarity movement as well, to do what we can to limit the spread of the coronavirus, COVID-19, and also to be involved in the African People's Socialist Party's fight back against not only the US imperialist imposed biological attack in the form of the actual virus, but also the other forms of attacks that are coming down in the form of the US government's response to the coronavirus situation. So I just want to salute the African People's Socialist Party, and especially Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the founder and leader of the Uhuru movement, for spearheading and putting forward the idea and the concept of waging an African internationalist people's war against coronavirus. And I also want to salute the director of the All African Peoples Development and Empowerment Project, Aisha Fields, Dr. Aisha Fields, who just wrapped up a very powerful web show, a broadcast on the APDEP Facebook page that I encourage people to watch. It was live from the Zenzele consignment store, which functions as a kind of headquarters for APDEP. And Dr. Aisha Fields is leading up the COVID-19 People's War Commission that is leading the way and showing the way forward, laying out the protocols, and also leading up the campaign to wage a people's fight back, to educate, especially the African community, on the reality of this virus, the history of it, the origins of it, but also the seriousness of it, and measures that can be taken to limit the devastation that could be wrought against the colonized African community that always bears the brunt of every so-called natural disaster, which are actually concoctions of US imperialism. And there's no doubt about that. That's something that, you know, the governments of Iran, China, Russia, and many others around the world have raised that question about where this came from. Trump is now calling it the China virus. But clearly, this is the America virus that is causing this pandemic all around the world. And I just thought it was an extremely powerful statement that Director of APDEP and Dr. Aisha Fields made in that discussion that she just had, when she talked about the fact that even if there was a situation where a naturally occurring virus were to spread and impact hundreds or thousands of people, if Africa was free, if African people had control of their own resources, if the productive capacity of African people was in their own hands and not in the hands of the European, North American, colonial capitalist ruling class, then there would be enough masks, there would be enough respirators, there would be enough hospitals to be able to manage and deal with and ultimately stop dead in its tracks the spread of a lethal pandemic such as this one. So this crisis that we're seeing in the world right now is a crisis that exposes the rotten essence, the foul, putrid essence of parasitic capitalism built on the enslavement of African people, built on the genocide against the indigenous people, built on biological warfare carried out by the US government and white people against Africans, against the native people of this land, against the people of China, against peoples around the world, that puts profit over human life over and over and over again. So we should be really infuriated by what's happening right now. I am personally completely enraged by what is happening right now and what the US government is doing, and just the complete vacuum of any meaningful leadership coming from this government, from this ruling class, in the face of this crisis, especially when you compare it to China, which is being slandered nonstop, which they say, oh, China imposed these draconian measures and did all these authoritarian, horrible things. Well, guess what? For the second day in a row, China has reported no new local cases of COVID-19 within Wuhan, where the virus, the outbreak, was alleged to have begun. So clearly, a country that puts the needs and interests of its people first can be obviously distinguished from something like the United States of America, where they're about to give trillions of dollars. They already did give trillions of dollars to Wall Street and the airlines and the CEOs and the billionaires and the bankers, while letting the people, especially the African community, suffer and experience the brunt of this horrendous crisis. So we're going to be talking more about this. We're going to be going live all the time. Right now, the US capitalist system is really being kind of brought to a screeching halt right now in a lot of ways. A lot of things are shutting down, but we are not shutting down. We are going to be going into overdrive to go live as often as we can, to be organizing in every possible way that we can that is safe and puts the well-being of our members first and foremost. But we are not going into a retreat. You can expect to see us every single day on certain weeks. Chairman Omali Shatella is going to be going live. Chairwoman Penny Hess is going to be going live. Dr. Aisha Fields is going to be going live. The Uhuru movement is going to be live, alive and well in front of you every single day throughout this process. And we are going to come out on the other side of this imperialist crisis stronger than ever as a movement and as the Uhuru Solidarity movement as well. So before I turn it back over to Comrade Jackson, I just want to say that the situation with regards to the economy is not to be taken lightly. And, the African People's Socialist Party and Chairman Omali Shatella and Deputy Chair Onozanaya Shatella, who heads up all of the economic institutions, including the Black Power blueprint of the African People's Socialist Party, these things are dual power, which we've talked about before. There are programs and institutions that exist as part of actually constructing a new economy in contention with the current one. So they exist, however, in a world that is still dominated by capitalism. But it's up to us, the movement and the solidarity movement in particular, that I'm making a call to, that we cannot allow the crisis of parasitic capitalism to negatively impact upon the political economy of the socialist African workers led revolution that the party is bringing into existence through the Black Power blueprint, through Black Star Industries, through Uhuru Furniture and Collectibles, through Uhuru Foods and Pies, through all of these economic institutions, which represent not just businesses, but actually the pillars of the future world socialist African economy, African-centered economy. And right now, these institutions are being impacted. We're seeing the furniture stores have to be closed down temporarily. And, all kinds of things are going to be impacted by this crisis, which has its origins in US imperialism. So we're going to be doing a lot more broadcasts to talk about this, but I just want to start right up front and say, do something right now. This is not a time to sit back. This is not a time to retreat. This is the most urgent period. This is what reparations means right now. It means reparations is a life or death question right now. And we have to take that as seriously as our lives. And that's why I'm calling on white people who are listening, who are watching, to go to blackpowerblueprint.org and literally go look at your bank account and donate whatever you can. Whatever you can, the highest amount that you can. These resources are urgently needed. We as the white community, as the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, have to make a commitment. We will not stand by and watch a capitalist imposed crisis wreak havoc on the African workers' economy. That is not going to happen. And the African People's Socialist Party is fighting. Deputy Chair Onizanea Shatella is fighting. Chairman Amali Shatella is fighting to lead and win this people's war, and we are a part of it. We are not bystanders. We are soldiers in the people's war, and our front is reparations. So I'm really calling on white people to do that. And I know that was a long overview, but I just think that's extremely important because these are extraordinary times that we're living through, and we have to move accordingly. So I want to throw it back over to my co-host, Comrade Jackson. Uhuru.
Uhuru, sure, Jesse. Thank you so much for that. I really want to appreciate that overview and that urgency and calling on us to take that stand, because this is life and death for the African community. For a lot of white people, a lot of us are working from home, just chilling out, playing more with our dogs, watching Netflix. But the Black community is in an incredible, horrible state right now, and constantly is that life or death. And in this, on top of everything else, it's a critical time for us to not abandon our posts if we are already in the movement, or to just sit back and allow this to happen. So I really want to appreciate that, and I want to appreciate everyone who's tuning in on Facebook and YouTube. Please share this far and wide. Message it to your mom, share it to groups, post it on your timeline, share it on Twitter, get the word out so that everyone has the opportunity to participate in this study and to take this stand. Because a lot of people, want to do something, but they don't know what to do, so they are just chilling out, watching Netflix. But we can do something, and people need to know that this is where to go to, and this is what to do. So donate at blackpowerblueprint.org to the economic programs of the Uhuru movement. If you are not a member of the Uhuru Solidarity movement, join at uhurusolidarity.org. Our 3 principles of unity are: 1, we organize. We are led by the African People's Socialist Party. 2, we organize in the white community for reparations. And 3, we recognize the Black communities and African people's right to self-determination. So if you agree with those 3 principles of unity, join at uhurusolidarity.org/join and come to our USM National Convention by registering at uhurusolidarity.org/convention. It will be online. It will be via Zoom, the same platform we're using now, and you can participate in our convention and hear Chairman Amali Shatella himself. I want to, sorry.
And if you want to go directly to the registration page for the convention, you can go to uhurusolidarity.org/register. That takes you directly to where you register. It's only $30. And I just want to unite with Jackson. Like, this convention is absolutely critical. We were originally going to hold it in St. Louis. Obviously, we can't do that now, but we are not closing it down. We're going to have an incredible convention. We want people to tune in from all over the world and participate. And when you register, you'll be able to actually participate in the Zoom conference. So you can ask questions, you can submit comments, and you will also be considered an official attendee, meaning you'll have the ability to vote in the election of our leadership, and also, be able to engage directly with our amazing speakers, including Chairman Amali Shatella, the keynote speaker and the founder of the Uhuru movement. So, Uhuru.
I appreciate it, Chair Jesse. And we have some comments. So on YouTube, says Ola from South Quarantine, South Texas. The username is Sir Handsome, so Uhuru. Renee from Philly says Uhuru. That's on YouTube. And on Facebook, we have Virginia Wilson from Louisville, Kentucky. Santosh from St. Petersburg, Florida says Uhuru Comrade. Let's see. Jacob Scott is watching. Kristen Forthen says salute AFDEF, the African People's Education and Development Project that just had an incredible web show. So tune into that if you haven't already. Says salute APSC and the African People's Socialist Party, Reparations Now, all in caps, from USM's Spokane part. That refers to the Seattle and Spokane branch of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, which she is chair of. Tama Goldberg-Gadini is tuning in, so thank you. And we have, I know some other comrades who have not commented yet, but I appreciate everyone who's tuning in. And again, please share far and wide. You can also call in to make your own comment or question at 727-537-9171. That is in the comments as well. So you can call in and pose your questions or make your comments about our study. So before we go into our article, I want to give a bigger appreciation to our leadership, the African People's Socialist Party, specifically Chairman Omali Yeshitela. So this is on page 8 of your Burning Spear newspaper if you have your copy. If you don't, you can go to Burning Spear Marketplace. The link is in the comments. So salute Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the founder of the Uhuru movement, the chairman of the African People's Socialist Party, whose new book is Vanguard, the Advanced Attachment of the African Revolution. And check out all of his works at Burning Spear Marketplace, really summing up this political period and the strategy going forward. Salute Onezune Yeshitela right here, who is the deputy chairwoman and who is the architect of the Black Power Blueprint, leads all of the Uhuru movement's economic work that all of the reparations we raise go to. And Kile Anai, the director of agitation and propaganda, who included in that role is being the editor-in-chief of the Burning Spear newspaper. So again, get your newspaper and get your revolutionary news. And salute all of the members of the African People's Socialist Party's National Central Committee, including Dr. Aisha Fields, who we mentioned earlier, the director of the All African People's Development and Empowerment Project, or APSC. So, Uhuru. Also salute Chairwoman Penny Hess, whose article we are reading tonight. That is on page 11. The article is called Extending the Vanguard to Imperialism's Pedestal.
Great
and
title.
Here is a photo. Sorry?
It's a great title.
I couldn't hear you.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me? I was just saying I think it's a great title.
It's a great title, yes. Extending the Vanguard to Imperialism's Pedestal. And we'll go into more of that, what that means in a moment. But salute Chairwoman Penny Hess right here, who chairs the African People's Solidarity Committee, the cadre organization of white people under the African People's Socialist Party, and who is the direct leadership of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And also salute our chair, Jesse, National Chair of the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. And here is a Uhuru. And here is a photo of a bunch of members of the Solidarity Committee. The APSC's Office of Reparations and Economic Development, or ORED, works directly under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party's Deputy Chair, Onezune Yeshitela. It shows a bunch of the Solidarity comrades around Deputy Chair, who all work in ORED. So here is that photo. It's a little dark, but it's also on page 11 of your Burning Spear newspaper. There are, okay. So I can read until where the third column becomes another section. So just above the party is the vanguard of the African working class, and I'm sure Jesse, if you want to continue after that.
Sounds good. So, okay, the third column. Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. All right. So, extending the vanguard to imperialism's pedestal. And I appreciate Diane Tournay and Judith Turner who are tuning in, and Gil Obler from New York City.
Uhuru. All right, Gil, the chair of USM New York.
Yes, Uhuru Gil.
Uhuru.
So this is by Chairwoman Penny Hess in the White Solidarity's Black Power column on page 11 of your March Burning Spear newspaper. Extend the vanguard onto the pedestal was the slogan of the African People's Solidarity Committee, or APSC, report to the historic National Plenary of the African People's Socialist Party, APSC, held February 1st through 3rd in Aquaba Hall in St. Petersburg, Florida. The plenary was a national conference of all party members and units in the US, the Caribbean, in Europe, and on the continent of Africa. The plenary was a checkup on the mandates and resolutions of the party's 7th Congress, held in October 2018. The Congress is the party's highest body, where party members report to the organization, elect their leadership, and adopt the party's 5-year plan laid out in Chairman Omali Yeshitela's political report. What does extend the vanguard onto the pedestal mean? The African People's Solidarity Committee is the white organization formed by the African People's Socialist Party back in 1976 to carry out the party's strategy to win white people inside the US and around the world to stand in solidarity with the struggle for the liberation of Africa and African people. APSC is an organization of the African Revolution strategically placed, quote, behind enemy lines in the heart of white society, working under the party's direct leadership, accountable to the party's central committee. The party built APSC to overturn opportunist and self-serving relationships of white people to African people based on charity or racism, which APSC Chairman Omali Yeshitela has defined as a quote-unquote self-defeating waste of time. The quote continues, what is called racism is simply the ideological foundation of capitalist imperialism. Racism is a concept that denies Africans our national identity and dignity rather than defining the system of our oppression. The chairman, and there's a quote from the chairman explains in his groundbreaking book, An Uneasy Equilibrium, The African Revolution versus Parasitic Capitalism. Again, you can find at Burning Spear Marketplace, as well as a book from Chairwoman Penny Hess called Overturning the Culture of Violence that I highly recommend as well. The conditions of African people inside the US and across the world is colonialism, the military and economic occupation of an oppressed people for the benefit of the colonizers. Chairman Omali has put forward a scientific basis for both the poverty and oppression of African people everywhere they are located and the prosperity available to white people. Capitalism, the chairman proves, is a parasitic system built on Europe's assault on Africa, turning African people into commodities for sale as enslaved machines for the production of wealth, which is, and then parentheses, the greatest wealth ever produced on the planet. And to continue, stealing African labor, science, arts, and independence. Capitalism was created through the genocide of the indigenous people, the theft of their land, and the imperialist colonial domination of the majority of humankind. Parasitic capitalism means there is the parasite and the host, the masses of colonized humanity being violently devoured by the tapeworm inside the US and around the world. Chairman Omali defines African people as part of the colonized host, and we, the white people, are the colonizers, the oppressor nation. The colonized make up the pedestal upon which capitalism rests. Without the hosts, capitalism will die. All white people sit on this pedestal on the backs of African, indigenous, and colonized peoples everywhere. We don't all have the same access to the stolen resources, but both the white ruling class and the white working class were born of this same parasitic assault on the world that transformed Europe from feudalism to capitalism. This is the basis for our opportunism that has always sold out the interests of African people for our own short-term goals. The main struggle of the white left has been to fight for greater control of stolen colonized resources and power under imperialism for a greater number of white people. Uhuru, and transferring over to Chair Jesse.
Uhuru.
Uhuru.
The party is the vanguard of the African working class. The African People's Socialist Party is the organization of the African working class. It is the vanguard of the African working class, the advanced detachment that goes out in front of the struggle and leads the way to victory. The assigned task of the African People's Solidarity Committee is to win reparations from white people directly to the programs and projects of the party as a means of reversing the parasitic, blood-sucking flow of resources back to the African Revolution. This way, reparations becomes a revolutionary demand, the true redistribution of the wealth of the world. This is how we white people can become true socialists, anti-imperialists, and revolutionaries, because the road to socialism and the world revolution is painted black. Paying reparations, standing in genuine solidarity with the African Revolution, is in our interest. It allows us to turn loose our whiteness. Indeed, Chairman O'Malley wrote in his political report to the plenary titled Vanguard Up, the Unity of Theory and Practice, quote, "The absolute unity of white people with their own ruling class has been forever fractured by the existence of the African People's Solidarity Committee." APSC reported to the party plenary. By the way, I think we should go back and talk about those few paragraphs when we're done, because there is a lot of really important stuff crammed into those concise paragraphs. APSC reported to the party plenary. It was a great honor for APSC to be able to report to this very historic party plenary. In our report, we saluted our leadership, Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Deputy Chair Ona Zane Yeshitela, the party's central committee, as well as all the party's members and supporters who were in attendance. We presented to the body, the central committee of APSC, and the national executive committee of our mass organization, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. We laid out the political basis for the party's formation of the Solidarity Committee and presented the goals of APSC for the next year. The building and strengthening of the party's regional infrastructure was mandated by the chairman's political report for all units and mass organizations, and for APSC as well. Building the regions, Northern, Southern, Midwestern, and Western, is therefore our main goal, which includes opening solidarity centers in the party's regional hubs, building our regional committees, and opening up APSC units in new cities and towns, as well as regional recruitment and implementing the party's NTU volunteer program. APSC ORED Director, Katie Riley, reported on the Office of Reparations and Economic Development, which works directly under the Office of Deputy Chair Onizane. The Uhuru Solidarity Movement Chair, Jesse Neville, reported on our mass work, which has members in 130 cities and 30 states. We laid out plans to take on the moneyed sector as mandated for us by Chairman Omali Yeshitela. We are launching a campaign demanding reparations from corporate CEOs, especially from sectors such as private prisons and the broader prison and tech industries, whose massive livelihoods are directly tied to the oppression of African people in this period, not just during the time of African enslavement. The African People's Solidarity Committee calls on white people to answer the call to become Black power in white face inside the belly of the beast. Take up the work of the revolutionary reparations demand. Let's make our self-criticism to African people and the oppressed of the planet and end forever our self-imposed isolation from humanity, the self-quarantine, the original self-quarantine. For more information on joining the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, contact uhurusolidarity.org. Unity through?
Reparations.
Uhuru.
Uhuru. Really want to just appreciate this incredible article written by Chairwoman Penny Hess, right after summing up the significance of the party's plenary or planning conference for the Solidarity Movement. So that was all extremely moving. And I do have some talking points that for us to discuss, but I want to encourage everyone watching to continue sharing this video as well, but also to comment with your thoughts, with your questions. This is your place to ask your questions of USM. So I encourage you to, if you have any pressing thoughts, concerns, what about this, what about that, you can put it in the comments, or you can call us at 727-537-9171. Obviously there's a lot to talk about, but I do want to address, that paragraph here, Jesse, that you were talking about, or that section of paragraphs. And I think it does have a lot to do with, our role, in the solidarity movement. And I think that people still often assume, when they see the solidarity movement and the African People's Socialist Party, we're, somehow in charge, when no, not at all. This is the African Liberation Movement led by the African People's Socialist Party. And, we bring the demand for reparations and Black power, into the white community under their leadership. And just like, it's summing up how, the slogan, "The road to socialism is painted black," that I think we haven't really discussed, what African internationalism is on this particular study, but that slogan, kind of encapsulates as well. And sure, Jesse, is that something you would like to address?
Sure, yeah, I think that slogan is very important. And it's actually, it comes from the title of a book that the chairman wrote. I'm not sure what year. The book is long out of print, but I'm sure it will be republished at some point. And it's also featured on a t-shirt that the Uhuru Planet apparel sells. So check out uhuruplanet.org and get your t-shirts. The road to socialism is painted black. And what does that mean? Well, it's based on Chairman Omali Yeshitela and his theory of African internationalism, explaining that the road to capitalism was painted in the blood of African people, that capitalism was born as white power. And that's the first thing you have to understand. And we've talked about that on this study in the past, that, as the chairman says, it's possible to be against capitalism, but not be against parasitic capitalism, which means you can be against, which really, you're not really against capitalism if you're not against parasitic capitalism, because capitalism above everything else is fundamentally parasitic. So if you are against capitalism because capitalism rips off workers or doesn't give people free healthcare or makes you pay for your higher, education, higher learning and stuff like that, what you're really against are the features of capitalism, the characteristics of capitalism. But the essence of capitalism is that it's a blood-sucking world economy that was born through the assault on Africa, the invasion of Africa, literally encircling the continent, with, to enslave African people by the millions, force them onto slave ships, force them to work here and in other parts of the world for hundreds of years for nothing, to, as Chairwoman Penny said in this article, produce the greatest accumulation of wealth and enforced productivity that's ever been seen in human history. That's where capitalism came from. And prior to the birth of capitalism, which again, capitalism is international. Capitalism is one world system. The whole world is under capitalism. Even those countries that have fought to rid themselves of capitalism, like Cuba, still exists under world capitalism. That's why Cuba has poverty, not because of something wrong with socialism, but because they've done their best to forge a socialist path while encircled by global capitalism. And that's why the US was able to impose an embargo, wage assassination attempts, and do other things to starve the people and try to deprive the people of any means of being able to live. And in spite of that, Cuba is actually leading the world right now and being able to try to treat the whole COVID-19 crisis, because they have that socialist morality, and that's what their country and their revolution is based on. But it's only going to go so far because, as the chairman says, you can't have socialism in one country because capitalism doesn't exist in one country. Capitalism spans the globe. And it was built on the oppression of African people. It was built fundamentally on African oppression and the genocide of the native people of this land, the theft of their land, the colonization of the vast majority of the peoples around the world, the fact that, what Karl Marx called the primitive accumulation of capital that included the extermination of the native people, the opium wars against China, the decimation of the so-called Aboriginal people of Australia. Like, all of these things were part of the primitive accumulation, the original theft of capital, which is basically those means of production, things that you use to generate more and more resources. That's what capital is. And what was the first capital of capitalism? African human beings. That was the first capital. That was the first machine of production that was exploited by the capitalist ruling class under this new system. So you've seen historically there have been efforts by white people to fight for socialism, and you've even had white countries that have established what they've called socialism, but it has always gone awry. And every instance of a white-led movement for socialism has inevitably sold out the interests of the African working class. And actually, as the chairman says, class war within the white nation has actually been a contest between the white workers and the white rulers for who gets to control the stolen loot and resources of the colonized African. That's what class struggle has been in the context of parasitic capitalism when it plays out in the white world. So socialism is not going to be led by white people. The struggle for socialism is not going to be led by Bernie Sanders. It's not going to be led by some crusty Marxist white organization, including those which mask their white leadership behind multiracial class formations or whatever, the multiracial working class or some other kind of euphemism for, kind of like we are the world politics, workers of the world unite, black, white, unite and fight, we're all workers, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, that really is the politic that you will find amongst the left in this country and in Europe and other places around the world. And what Chairman Omali Yeshitela was able to show through his incisive scientific revolutionary theory and analysis is that the real, as he says, the locus of the class struggle is in the colonial contradiction. The core of the struggle, the workers' struggle, the real workers' struggle is the struggle of the African working class, the real proletariat. A proletariat is a class, is a social class of workers that actually has the potential to make a revolution, that has a revolutionary agency. And that's the African working class. That's the real proletariat in the world. And that's why the road to socialism is painted black. So for white people, that doesn't mean, well, okay, well, then I guess we're not a part of this, so let's go home. No. If only it were so easy. We are actually very much a part of this because we have fed off of the exploitation and suffering of African people for hundreds of years. So if you're a white person, you consider yourself a socialist, which many do. Many white people consider ourselves socialists, or even if you consider yourself a communist, as Chairman Omali says, to be a white person and to be a socialist, to be a white person and to be a communist means to fight for the defeat of white power and the triumph of black power. It means to subordinate our short-term interests as white people on the pedestal of the oppression of African people, because there's no doubt about it, in the short term, we benefit from our relationship to imperialism. But in the long term, no one is going to benefit from a relationship to imperialism because imperialism is going to be dead. So no one is going to benefit from a relationship to imperialism. Imperialism is going to be 6 feet under. And we don't want to go down with the sinking ship. We want to be part of humanity. We want to be part of the future. And that's why if you're a white person, you consider yourself a socialist, a communist, an anti-imperialist, a revolutionary, then this is the place to be. And I say without an ounce of bragging or arrogance or anything like that, that it's the only place to be if you're a white person. And I am proud to be part of this movement, so I can get a little boastful about how amazing the Uhuru movement is, but I'm not even doing that right now. It's literally the only place, and that's just a scientific reality, because there's one revolutionary party of the African working class spanning the globe, building in the trenches of the shanty towns of occupied Azania all the way to South St. Petersburg, Florida, to build one revolutionary movement of African people with one philosophy, with one organization, with one leadership, with one goal to unite one African people into one revolutionary socialist nation that will lead the process towards the liberation of all oppressed nations. And there's only one organization of white people that works under its leadership. That's the African People Solidarity Committee, and its mass formation, the Uhuru Solidarity Movement. So you got to join. If you're not already a member, you got to join. Uhuru.
Uhuru. Thank you, Jesse. And you can join at uhurusolidarity.org/join. And if you join now, you'll be a part of our Reparations Recruitment Month. Our goal of winning a minimum of 100 members. How many have we raised? So have we won so far, Jesse? 35 or?
I gotta get, I think we're at around 35. I gotta get an update from our stellar membership chair, Comrade Ali Ayello, but I know we're over a third of the way there, and we're keeping it going for the rest of the month. And we actually have about another 30 people pledged to become members, so we're working to follow up with them. So we want to have an avalanche. Like, we need the reparations avalanche right now more than ever. So if you're on the fence about joining, get off the fence, become a member, and we'll even send you a button. And you weren't even expecting it. You just wanted to be on the side of the revolution and the side of the future. But guess what? You also get a button. So that's cool. But yeah, join. And if you're already a member, upgrade your membership. You also get a button if you upgrade in the month of March that says, "I stand for reparations now, solidarity with African people in the US and around the world."
And it's a big red button that looks really cool. You can show all your friends and encourage them to join. And you can become a reparations recruiter as well at uhurusolidarity.org/recruit, and recruit the people you know to join this organization. Because 100 people is really a small number. And so that's the bare minimum. And, we have to really, make this a culture of reparations and a culture of white people in genuine solidarity with African liberation, with the oppressed peoples of the world, who are on the forward side of history and who will be a part of the new world that is being constructed by the Uhuru movement. We have some comments. We have Renee from Philadelphia says, "Uhuru Jesse, I really appreciate your summation of this." Ross Dean says, "Greetings." This is Chester from Pennsylvania. So Uhuru, Chester.
Chester, thanks for joining us.
Okay. No, I couldn't hear you today. Sarah Edwards from St. Petersburg, Florida. Can you hear me? It says my internet connection is unstable.
You sound a little choppy to me, but.
Okay, well now the warning went away, so I just won't mess with it. Okay. All right. Well, salute everyone tuning in. Let me see.
Uhuru, I saw there was a question from Virginia about the book that I was referencing. If it was A New Beginning. The book is called A New Beginning: The Road to Black Freedom and Socialism. And no, that's not the one I was referencing. That's another book by the chairman. The one I'm referencing was published in 1987, and it's actually called The Road to Socialism is Painted Black. And that was where that slogan came from that book that the chairman wrote.
Okay, and I was just informed by Virginia, our moderator, that it's a bit jumbled, but it's okay sound-wise. So I guess the video was a little unstable, but the sound is good, so at least people can hear me. All right. Cool. So in terms of, that was a really powerful summation. I really want to unite with Renee and just laying out the significance of this. And in terms of the title, of the article,
Oh yeah.
Vanguard to Imperialism's Pedestal, it was summed up a little bit in the article. But I just wanted to ask her, Jesse, like, what does the movement mean by, vanguard and vanguard up? And it's a term that I wasn't really familiar with until I met this movement, although I know that, the vanguard is something that Marx talks about and other, organizations talk about. Oh, okay. Virginia says the audio was a little jumbled, but the video was good. So
Okay.
hope it's all perfect now. And so, the African People's Socialist Party says, they are the vanguard of the African Revolution and the worldwide revolution against imperialism, against capitalism. But, also, APSC, APSC is, of course, under the leadership of the African People's Socialist Party. But APSC, the chairman has said, is also not the vanguard, but a vanguard for white people under the party. I just want to open up to you, Chair Jesse, as a member of APSC on the National Central Committee of APSC and the chair of USM, what that means to vanguard up. What does that mean? And what does that mean specifically for white people as well?
Real. I appreciate the question, and I wonder if you could say, I would like to hear your take on it as well, actually, if that's all right, on the title of the article in particular.
Of course. So extending the vanguard to imperialism's pedestal. So of course, we as white people, we are a part of imperialism's pedestal. We're on the pedestal upon which, world capitalism is based. Capitalism, as you summed up, was formed through genocide and enslavement of African people and indigenous people. And so, those of us in the white community, even those of us who do not have as many resources in our pocket, we have access, to more of the stolen loot of African people. And so we are on the pedestal of oppression that rests on African people. And to extend the vanguard to imperialism's pedestal, the vanguard referring to the African People's Socialist Party, being the tip of the spear, the leading force, vanguard is, goes ahead and forges the way for the rest of, the people to follow. It refers to a military term of, the vanguard, forges the way through, really hard circumstances for the rest of the army or the population to go through. And so, the African People's Socialist Party is the vanguard of the African Revolution, and as Chair Jesse summed up, of the worldwide revolution of oppressed peoples against imperialism, against white power. And those of us, who are a part of white power because we are white people in this, culture of violence, in this culture of white power, we have the opportunity, thanks to the Uhuru movement, forging the solidarity movement, we have the opportunity to take the call for, solidarity with African liberation, for reparations, for returning those stolen resources upon which everything else is based. We have the opportunity to, join under the African People's Socialist Party and be a part of the Uhuru movement and take, extend the vanguard, extend, the goals of the Uhuru movement into the white population to win white people to defect from white power and to, come under the leadership of Black power. And, the road to socialism is painted black, and we have the opportunity to be a part of that. So that's my take on that. I'm going to open up to Chair Jesse, your thoughts.
Uhuru, I unite.
Okay, awesome. Uhuru. Awesome. And I want to see if we have any more questions. I know we have, we have 10 minutes left. Some of that will be for announcements. So I lost it on Facebook. Here we are. While it's loading on my Facebook.
I'm checking out Facebook too. We don't have any other questions at the moment.
Chester says the author, Penny Hess, she's still with us? Yes, very much so. Very much so. Penny Hess is very much alive and kicking and fighting for reparations. And she is just an incredible revolutionary.
She'll actually be with us next what day is it? Next Thursday on the Reparations Study Group. She will be speaking with us. We'll be discussing an article by Chairman Amali Shatala from his political report on this program. So yes, Chairwoman Penny Hess, she's out in St. Louis now, working on forwarding reparations to the Black Power Blueprint. And I want to do the same right now. I want to forward reparations to the Black Power Blueprint. So I do want to remind everybody who's listening, every single time you see me on your screen, you can expect me to say, go to blackpowerblueprint.org and donate generously. Do whatever you can and encourage your friends and family to do the same, because we are in the midst of an emergency reparations funding drive right now. The coronavirus crisis unleashed upon the world by parasitic capitalism that now is doing everything they can to salvage the wealthiest people, the Wall Street bankers and the CEOs, while African people suffer and die, and while the African working class political economy has to weather the devastation that's being imposed on it by this crisis. We have to do everything we can. We have to do everything we can to bring in resources to defend the Uhuru movement's institutions, because as Chairman Amali Shatala pointed out, this is not the first time that an effort has been made to shut down the Uhuru movement or its economic institutions. It's not the first time, it won't be the last time, but it also won't be the last time that we stand up, that we fight, that we defend the party, that we refuse to allow anything to come between African people struggling for their liberation and the goal, which is independence and freedom for African people in Chairman Amali Shatala's lifetime. So we got to take this thing very seriously. People need to be careful. You know, I know we don't want to believe anything the U.S. government says, and I don't blame you, because they lie. Trump gets on his little live streams every single day, his press conferences, and lies and lies and lies. But we do have to take seriously this virus. I mean, we got to look around the world. China took it very seriously. They did what they had to do to clamp down on this and to contain it. And they had to make some sacrifices in order to do that. They had 10,000 volunteers going throughout the different provinces in China to help people, to assist the people, and they waged a people's war. That's what the Uhuru movement is doing. That's what the African People's Socialist Party is doing. That's what this broadcast tonight, this study is about. Everything we're doing right now, these are not peace times. We are in a war. This is a people's war for the future of humanity. And our front in the reparations movement is critical, because every people's war needs resources. And we have to be that supply line, bringing African people's resources back to the revolution. As Penny Hess put it in this article, reversing the flow of the blood-sucking parasitic capitalism back into the African revolution. Now more than ever, when capitalism is in crisis, we have to do everything we can to ensure that capitalism's crisis does not become a crisis for the people, for the revolution. The revolution has to go forward. The revolution will go forward. The African working class is fighting. African people have always refused to just lay down and die. They are fighting, they are struggling, they are winning. They're going to be doing organizing amongst the community to inform and educate their communities. And we are going to do the same as well in our communities to win white people to see the truth about this situation, to take the precautions necessary, and to do so in the context of building white solidarity with Black power, of building, as the chairman says, an African internationalist community of white people who fight for reparations to African people. That's what it's about. That's what it means. This is what reparations means right now. It's not an abstract thing, because we can start to think about reparations like, oh, it's this grandiose thing that's going to happen someday, so I'll just try to donate what I can in the meantime and feel like I did my part. No. This is urgent. This is now. Reparations now. It's not just a slogan, it's a reality. Reparations are needed right now to ensure the survival and growth of these institutions, some of them over 30 years in the making, that have weathered all kinds of blows and that are going to go forward. But we have a role to play. We have to do our part, white people. I am making that call. I am urging you to do what you can to spread the word. We're going to be having a live stream this Saturday night at 5 p.m. Penny Hess is going to be on, the chair of APSC, who wrote this brilliant piece that we studied tonight. And Deputy Chair Onozene Yeshitela is going to be a guest speaker on our program this Saturday. And we're going to be talking with Deputy Chair about the situation with the economic institutions of the party, about the impact that this crisis is having on the work of the Uhuru movement to construct an independent, anti-colonial African working class political economy, and what we have to do as white people to shore up the resources, to regroup, to gather the resources, as Chairman used to say, the mountain, the rear base of the revolution, and bring it back home. Bring it home to the African Revolution. Now more than ever, we need to do we need to carry out our task, our historic responsibility as the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, as well as cadre members of the African People Solidarity Committee. We have to vanguard up, every single one of us. So that's more than an announcement, but I just wanted to say, like, anytime you see me, that's what you're going to hear. Anytime you see us as the Solidarity Movement, this is what we're going to be talking about, because this is urgent. We have to do our part. We have to make this happen. So, and our convention, you got to register for the convention. You don't even have to worry about flights now. You don't have to worry about booking a hotel room. Okay. So all you got to do, if you've already registered, don't worry about it. We're going to send you the login info. You might have already received it today, thanks to Amanda Carlozzi, our registration coordinator. If you haven't registered yet, all you got to do is go to uhurusolidarity.org/register, register, and you'll be able to participate using Zoom webinar. And you'll be able to see the chairman. You'll be able to interact, engage with Chairman Omali Yeshitela, Penny Hess, Deputy Chair Onozene Yeshitela, Agitprop Director Akile Anai, Impedum President Kalambai and Danette. This is going to be an unbelievable convention, and it's going to be in this whole context now of waging the people's war against the colonial virus. So, Uhuru, that's what I wanted to say. Uhuru.
Uhuru, appreciate that, Chair Jesse, and also Director Dr. Aisha Fields will also be on
thank you.
part of the convention talking about the coronavirus. So definitely encourage everyone to register at uhurusolidarity.org/convention to get more info on convention, or just go straight to uhurusolidarity.org/register.
Yes, and Dr. Aisha Fields is going to be on an interview called "Colonialism is the Virus, Black Power is the Cure" on Tuesday night, I think at 7 p.m. Eastern.
7 p.m., yes.
And that's for the Black Power Blueprint. That's going to be on the Black Power Blueprint's Facebook and YouTube channels. So people got to tune in. This is an Uhuru movement marathon basically happening on social media right now. So stay glued and get other people to tune in. Uhuru.
Yep. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Uhuru Solidarity. Follow the Black Power Blueprint on Facebook at facebook.com/Black Power Blueprint. And they're on Twitter and Instagram as well. So follow all of the movement for updates. This is just ongoing. And I'm going to do $10 tonight at blackpowerblueprint.org. And Chester has made a few comments. He says, was the book The Eyes of Darkness mentioned in this video or any other from you guys? And we haven't mentioned the book The Eyes of Darkness on this video. I don't know if it's been mentioned in other videos. And I'm really not familiar with that book. Sure, Jesse, you might be. But Chester says he will.
I've heard about it.
Go ahead. I
don't know that much about it. I think it's a fictional book. I could be wrong, but I believe it's a book. I think it's by Dean Koontz. Let me check. Let me double check. But I did hear about it because apparently, it's by Dean Koontz. Apparently, it makes some interesting predictions about a virus, a pandemic happening in the year 2020. that that actually originates in Wuhan.
Oh, wow. And yeah,
Anyway.
Chester says yes, you're correct about you.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. I don't know that much about it, except that it's possible that if the U.S. government, maybe something got leaked, Mr. Kuntz, when he was writing his book, because I wouldn't be surprised if this thing was being cooked up for a long time, but I don't know. I don't know that much about it. But I do think that we don't have time to go into this, but I want to recommend people watch, including Chester. Thank you for tuning in, Chester. And you should check out on this very channel. We did a broadcast last Saturday called Is Coronavirus an American Bioweapon? Penny Hess and myself co-hosted that. We had that discussion. And, you know, Chairwoman Penny talked about the long, lurid history of biological warfare in this country, including especially against African people, which is a horrendous narrative that we don't have time right now to get into, but I encourage people to check out that broadcast as well and share that with everybody you know.
Thank you, Jesse. And we're at 8 p.m. So I just want to appreciate you, Jesse, for everything that you have contributed to this web show, and just encourage everyone to surpass my pledge to the Black Power Blueprint. My pledge is a little smaller than I would like it to be. So I'm doing $10 today, and we'll definitely do more in the very near future. I get paid tomorrow. And just encourage everyone to do what you can, make your comments with what you are pledging to keep these institutions going, building a liberated African economy and a liberated future of African people, and for all of us from this capitalist system. We have someone who says, let me see. All right, we're getting some more comments. And
hey, Diane Tournay is going to put in $10. Uhuru, Diane.
Uhuru, Diane, awesome. Uhuru. All right, and Chester says that he will, return. We'll watch again. And someone, Sir Handsome says gracias and Uhuru, y'all. And let me see. All right, and so for announcements, of course, the USM convention, register. Reparations Recruitment Month. You can sign up to be a recruiter and recruit people into the Uhuru movement. We need to grow the movement for white reparations to African people. The Reparations Report, People's War Against Coronavirus, that's this Saturday. Tune into that. Featuring Deputy Chair Dinesh Tella, Chairwoman Penny Hess. And Colonialism is the Virus, Black Power is the Cure. This coming Tuesday, March 24th, 7 p.m. on youtube.com/blackpowerblueprint, featuring Charwa Masimba, the Economic Director of the Black Power Blueprint. Tune in to the Chairman's Sunday Studies at 8 p.m. Eastern, and attend the African National Women's Organization's convention in solidarity with African liberation. That has been rescheduled for July 10th through the 12th. And of course, tune into our next episode of the Reparations Study Group, episode 16, A New World Under Construction, which is featuring Chairwoman Penny Hess, and we will be discussing the cover article, Party's first 7th Congress plenary, calling us to vanguard up. We are building the regional hub strategy. So we'll go into what the strategy for going forward of the African People's Social Party. And Chairwoman Penny will be speaking on that, and the episode is themed A New World Under Construction. So I just want to appreciate everyone so much. All right, and just Uhuru, everyone. Any closing comments, Comrade Jesse?
Yes, smash coronavirus, smash colonialism, victory to the African Revolution, victory to the African Internationalist People's War for independence and freedom for African people in Chairman Omali Yeshitela's lifetime. We are winning reparations now. Join the Uhuru Solidarity Movement, uhurusolidarity.org, and we'll see you on the next live stream on Saturday night. Uhuru.
Uhuru.